Welcome back to Curfew Stories. It's 3 a.m. The world outside your window has gone quiet, but the shadows in your room, they've just started to wake up. In tonight's Volume 6, we're crossing boundaries that were never meant to be touched. We're driving on roads that don't exist on any map, and we're looking too closely at gardens that grow things far more terrifying than flowers. Tonight, the rules are simple. Don't trust the lights. Don't trust the machine. And for God's sake, stay in your seat. If you're watching this, you've already missed the curfew. Let's begin with a journey you'll never return from. This is the Red Route Protocol. It's 11:47 p.m. You're driving home from a friend's place, a 2-hour stretch of highway that you've traveled 1,000 times. But tonight, the rain isn't just falling, it's suffocating. The radio has dissolved into a sea of white noise, so you click it off. In the sudden vacuum of silence, you can hear your own heartbeat, a steady drum against the hum of the engine. Suddenly, your GPS emits a sharp digital shriek. The screen bleeds from a calm blue to a violent, pulsating red. The voice glitches. Signal lost. Recalculating. To the Weeping Way. You glance at the map. The familiar towns are gone. The screen shows only a single red line cutting through a vast gray void. The GPS whispers, "Warning. Do not turn around. They have already closed the distance." You look in your rearview mirror. There are no headlights, just a wall of absolute ink-black darkness swallowing the road. You accelerate. Outside, the trees look like giant, bleached spinal columns. A thick, violet fog seeps through your air vents. It smells of copper and rotting lily. The GPS speaks again, its voice layered with a wet, clicking sound. In 500 yards, prepare to offer your first tribute. A tall, gaunt figure appears in your high beams. It's holding a mirror that reflects your childhood bedroom. You don't break. You can't. When you open your eyes, you're in the passenger seat. You look to your left. Your double is driving. It has no eyes, just a hand-stitched slit for a mouth. It whispers in your own voice, "Thank you for the vessel. We're almost home." The GPS displays the final destination, 0.0 miles to gravesite, 412, the wardrobe's third hinge. I've always been a light sleeper. In an old house, you learn to categorize every creak. The floorboard by the radiator? That's just the heat. The rattling window? That's the wind. But 3 weeks ago, a new sound joined the symphony. A slow, rhythmic scrape, like a fingernail dragging across dry oak. It was coming from my wardrobe. A heavy, Victorian piece of furniture I bought at an estate sale for next to nothing. It's beautiful, dark mahogany, but it smells faintly of mothballs and something else, something metallic. My cat won't enter the room anymore. I decided to empty it out last night. I pulled out my coats, my shoes, the old boxes. I wanted to find the source of the scratching. That's when I noticed the hinges. Most wardrobes have 2. Mine had 3. The middle one was different, caked in a black, sticky residue that looked like dried blood, but felt like cold grease. I tried to unscrew it. The moment the screwdriver touched the metal, the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. My breath began to fog in the air. I looked at the back panel of the wardrobe. It didn't look like wood anymore. It looked like stretched skin, pores, tiny hairs, and a single blue vein pulsing in the center. I reached out to touch it, and the wardrobe shuddered. I didn't run. I couldn't. I was hypnotized by the rhythm of that pulse. I stepped inside the wardrobe, pushing against the back panel. It didn't feel solid. It felt like walking through a heavy, wet curtain. I came out on the other side, but I wasn't in a secret room. I was back in my bedroom. Everything looked the same: my bed, my desk, my lamp, but the colors were wrong. Everything was a shade of bruised purple. Imagine an old apartment in the heart of the city. The walls are thin as paper, yet you never hear your neighbors. The silence there is absolute until you bought that radio. A vintage vacuum tube set from the 1950s. The seller didn't look you in the eye. He just whispered, "Don't try to tune into the local stations. Just listen to what it wants to give you." One night around 3:30 a.m., the radio turns itself on. No music, no DJ's voice, just white noise, thick, heavy static. But as you listen closely, buried beneath the electrical crackle, you hear it, a breath, a heavy, wet respiration. You turn the dial. The frequency changes, but the breathing remains. Worse, it quickens. Then a child's voice rises. "Daddy, why did you turn off the light? You don't have a child. You live alone." But the voice continues. "I hate the painting in the hallway, and the man hiding behind the armchair. He scares me." You spin around toward your armchair. It's empty. But the radio suddenly shrieks a piercing feedback loop. Within that screech, a sentence is roared. He sees you in the static. You realize the black and white pixels of the analog snow are forming a face slowly pushing out of the flat surface. They say photographs capture a moment for eternity. That's a lie. They capture a prey. Elias was a renowned wedding photographer until he found an old film camera with a lens crafted from oily, black glass. He took a photo of his wife, Sarah, reading in the garden. The next day, while developing the print, Elias noticed an anomaly. In the photo, Sarah was staring at the lens, her mouth wide open as if to scream. Her skin seemed to be peeling. The following day, Sarah began complaining of an unbearable itch. Terrified, Elias took another photo. This time, half of Sarah's face had already decomposed, showing a skull blackened by an unknown mold. In reality, Sarah looked normal, except she no longer closed her eyes. She just stood there, staring at Elias. Elias understood too late. Every click of the shutter stole years of life, not from the soul, but from the flesh. In a fit of madness, he pointed the camera at himself. When the police entered later, they found only the camera. On the film, the last photo showed Elias, reduced to a pile of black ash, and behind him, shadows waiting. The static on the radio will never stop. The mold on the photos is already beginning to appear on your walls. If you hear a scratching sound under your bed in the next few minutes, do not look. It's already too late. Subscribe to stay in the light, because here, the darkness has very long teeth.